guys, I'm Maggie Rulli. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today on the Debrief. Now, everyone is talking about President Trump's big speech last night from the Oval Office, where he talked about things like immigration and the shutdown. And then the Democrats had their chance to respond as well. We also have some news about Paul Manafort we're going to be talking about with one of our experts who's going to break it all down for us. And then we're heading back to CES because I love any time I get to talk about cool, new, and somewhat creepy robots. Today we're going to check out foldable phones, which I'm super amped up about. Here's a look, though, first at everything else that's making headlines today.
A vote in British Parliament today has made the already difficult road to Brexit even rockier. Lawmakers passing an amendment placing roadblocks in the way of a no-deal departure from the European Union.
I can tell the House that in the event that our future relationship or alternative arrangements are not ready by the end of 2020, Parliament will have a vote on whether to seek to extend the implementation period or bring the backstop into effect.
The vote is another defeat for Prime Minister Theresa May, whose Brexit plan will come up for a vote next week.
Los Angeles teachers could strike tomorrow over pay and class size. It would be the first teacher walkout in LA in 30 years.
Encouraging news now in the fight against cancer. New figures show the number of overall deaths in the U.S. has dropped actually 27% between 1991 and 2016, and racial disparities are slowly narrowing. But the socioeconomic gap between those Americans who beat cancer and those who don't is widening. 2 head coaching jobs have been filled in the NFL. The Arizona Cardinals have hired the former coach from Texas Tech, Cliff Kingsbury. They're following a league trend toward younger, offense-minded coaches. And the Tampa Bay Bucks have now hired former Cardinals coach Bruce Arians.
The Duchess of Cambridge is celebrating her 37th birthday today. Duchess Kate is expected to celebrate with her husband, Prince William, and their 3 children.
Happy birthday, Kate, a January baby just like myself. So did you guys catch the president's speech last night? He was speaking from the Oval Office. He talked about immigration and border security. During it, he kind of hit upon a lot of the same topics that he normally hits upon. The Democrats then responded. They also talked about a lot of the same things they normally talk about. Here's a look.
This is a humanitarian crisis, a crisis of the heart and a crisis of the soul. Democrats in Congress have refused to acknowledge the crisis, and they have refused to provide our brave border agents with the tools they desperately need to protect our families and our nation. The federal government remains shut down for one reason, and one reason only, because Democrats will not fund border security.
He promised to keep government shut down for months or years, no matter whom it hurts. That's just plain wrong. The fact is, we all agree we need to secure our borders while honoring our values.
This president just used the backdrop of the Oval Office to manufacture a crisis, stoke fear, and divert attention from the turmoil in his administration.
Well, now I got to go right to my friend Karen at the White House. Karen, first, did you stay up late watching this speech? What did you think? What are people this morning saying at the White House about what happened last night?
Well, those 2 clips certainly do not sound like 2 sides who are getting any closer to an agreement in this standoff and the partial government shutdown. I think the reaction, Maggie, has been that the president said the bullet points he's been saying for days, weeks, months, even back to the campaign, and that he didn't offer anything new to make his case for why this is a crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the Democrats are, of course, digging in their heels. They say that they are not going to give the president the funding he wants for the border wall. The president there, in that clip you just played, said that the Democrats are responsible for this shutdown because they won't fund border security. That's not exactly right. They will put some talk about $1.6 billion for border security, but it's the wall. They do not want that physical barrier, and they say they are not going to budge on the president's demand.
Well, Karen, something that I'm curious about, because we talked so much about this yesterday, is the credibility here. Credibility has been such a big issue for this White House. And so I'm curious whether it's just you and your friends at the White House talking, or whether it's the radio stations you talk to across the country. What do people think about credibility last night and truth-telling? And so many stations had fact-checkers going on. I know we had a huge team here at ABC fact-checking. How has that come up today?
Yeah, a very aggressive fact-checking operation. And, you know, the speech last night was different. It was a teleprompter speech for the president. He stuck to the script and wasn't delivering it to a raucous crowd of supporters. That's where the president tends to go off script and give some of the more colorful lines that we've heard from him. So different setting means a different delivery, of course, from the president. But there were still some lines in there that deserved a bit of scrutiny. And we did that last night. The president talking about drugs that were coming over the border. And yes, that is true. 90% of the heroin in this country does come across the southern border, but it's coming in through those legal ports of entry, not something that a border wall would fix. Another thing that he talked about is this crisis on the U.S.-Mexico border. That's something we've heard a lot from the administration in the last few days. That word has been the key word. And the administration is pointing to the one aspect of this is the number of crossings. Maggie, we looked at the numbers, and apprehensions are down considerably from what they were over the past several decades. They have ticked up during the Trump administration over the last 2 years, but if you look at the historic trends, they are way down.
Well, Karen, thanks so much. Good luck today. The shutdown is still going on. As you mentioned, it doesn't seem like the two sides are coming together anytime soon. Day 19, right, Karen?
19. There are meetings, though, happening here at the White House today. Congressional leaders will be back this afternoon, but I don't think anybody's holding out much hope that there's going to be some major breakthrough today. This is the third round of those same leaders sitting down with the president for more talks.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like more of the same. All right, Karen, well, we'll be checking back in. I want to talk to you later about all of this. Well, we also are curious about, how this is impacting you guys. Are you affected by the government shutdown? Has your job been affected, your family or your friends? We really, really want to hear your stories and what this means for you just day to day. So head on over to our website. Again, we want to know what this means for you. How does this affect what you put on the table for breakfast, whether or not you're getting a paycheck, if you're even going into work. So please, please let us know. Well, as Karen mentioned, Karen tells us today these meetings are going on at the White House and at Capitol Hill. President Trump's going to be a part of them. But tomorrow, he's heading down to the border. He's going to McAllen, Texas, to kind of address what he's calling this crisis head on. And that's where our friend Matt is right now. Matt's in Texas. And Matt, something I found so interesting was you were telling us earlier that you also did radio calls today, and everyone kept asking you, is there a crisis? And what is the crisis? And I'm curious, Matt, that was my first question for you. You're there on the ground, so is there a crisis? What's happening?
I'm going to just follow up on what Karen said. So on the one hand, there is no security crisis that the president mentioned. There is a humanitarian crisis. And the numbers are well down from 2001 during President George W. Bush's presidency. There were 1.6 million crossings illegally, mostly young male Mexicans from Mexico to the United States. Most of them were bounced back immediately. This year, or 2018, only 361,000. So an enormous decline. But what we're looking at right now, and where this humanitarian crisis does in fact exist, is in that there are families with children crossing in unprecedented numbers. We're talking about 22,000 children in the month of December alone. We're in McAllen, Texas, so you might hear some of the people blasting their radio. 22,000 kids in December alone. This is unprecedented. It is historic. And the problem is that the Customs and Border Protection, Immigration and Customs Enforcement don't have the wherewithal, don't have the resources in order to deal with children and mothers and families in their facilities, because they were built decades ago for single adult males. This is the humanitarian problem. This is why the president, Border Patrol, and all these other agencies are asking for $800 million in humanitarian aid. This is why they're asking for more money to fund judges and immigration courts. So no real security crisis, as Karen mentioned, but yes, a humanitarian crisis. Lots of families and children crossing literally just half a mile from where I am right now every single day.
Matt, have you had a chance yet to talk to many people in McAllen? I'm curious, I'm standing in New York City right now, which is miles and miles away from the border. So people in McAllen that are living on that border, what do most of them think about the president visiting and about, his adamant stance on getting this border wall completed?
You know, there's a nuanced approach here. By the way, the reason we chose this lovely scenic background is because it's the mayor's office, and we're about to go jump in and talk to him. So, it looks like not the most handsome facility, nor is it the border wall, but we're here just because we're about to jump in. I think one of the most interesting things that I saw was actually from the local newspaper here, which published an op-ed or an editorial. In that editorial, they encouraged the president to come down here, which he is, and when he comes here, to talk to people, to talk to border officials, to talk to people who are involved in the massive amount of cross-border trade between Mexico and the U.S., to talk to people whose homes might be affected, their properties might be affected by increasing mileage of the wall. And I think that they are going to find, or they will tell him, a very nuanced approach. Yes, we want border security. Everybody does. Is the wall the most effective way of providing that? In some places, yes. And in some places, no. It is not a panacea. It is not the cure-all to the immigration woes. And most importantly, the people here in this border town need to have access to the Mexican side. They need ready access to it. They want to make that as easy as possible. Not only do they work on the other side or work here and commute, but they live on opposite sides. They have families on opposite sides. And to make any sort of cross-border exchange more difficult is something they absolutely don't want. And that's not just McAllen, Texas. It's not just Brownsville or El Paso. It's across the border from basically where we are right now to Tijuana, which is, 1,500 miles away or 2,000 miles away in the Pacific Ocean.
Well, Matt, we'll let you head back now to your meeting right behind you. I'm so curious what the mayor's going to say later, and I know we're going to have more of that interview later on today here on ABC News Live. So we're going to let Matt go. We'll check back in and hear more of that interview later. Now, I want to go back to Washington, D.C. to check in with my friend Jack. Jack, we don't get a chance to talk very often, you and me, so I'm excited to talk to you in person. But I see your emails all the time because you always know what's going on, whether it's Department of Justice news or news out of Washington. So first things first, I want to talk to you about Paul Manafort. Can you tell us exactly what happened with him? Based on my understanding, Jack, we learned some new accusations that came against Paul Manafort yesterday, and it was kind of a mistake, right?
That's right. So Bob Mueller has notoriously kept his cards very close to the vest. But on Monday night, Paul Manafort's attorney made a filing, and they accidentally exposed one of those cards. They filed a redacted filing to the court, but the redactions were not well done, and so we were able to see what was behind them. And in it, they suggest that Paul Manafort was accused by the special counsel of giving polling data, 2016 polling data, when he was the campaign chairman, to a Russian who is linked to Russian intelligence. His name is Konstantin Kalemnik, who once worked for the GRU, that's Russian military intelligence, and is still believed to be linked to Russian intelligence. And so that's not a good look. We've since learned that his colleague, Gates, who is also the deputy on the campaign, also provided some of that material as well and was in on it as well. So now we have two senior campaign officials who were providing information to the Russians.
Jack, I think the big question here is why does this matter? Remind us again who Paul Manafort exactly is, and then also, is this sort of a smoking gun to collusion? Is this something big that we're talking about, or how big of a deal is this?
Well, it remains to be seen sort of why he provided the data to the Russians and what they did with it. So what was the texture of the information, the quality of the information? If it was sort of publicly available polling data, it may not be that significant. But if it was more granular, or if it was information about which issues resonate with voters and things like that that the Russians might have been able to use in a social media campaign, that could be more serious. So those questions are still unanswered. We don't really know.
Definitely a lot of questions, again, how this ties into Washington right now as well. A reminder, Paul Manafort is that former Trump campaign chair, was convicted on multiple financial crimes. So we're going to, I'm sure, have more questions for you on that, Jack. But I can't let you go yet because you're a busy man today. You were also sending emails about Rod Rosenstein. It looks like he might not be around for much longer, but does it really matter?
Well, Rod Rosenstein is the Deputy Attorney General. He's the one that initiated the special counsel investigation and appointed Bob Mueller. He's been taking criticism from the president for well over a year because of that. But from what we understand, he's not being driven out of the job, but he wanted to serve for 2 years, and it's sort of time for him to go. But he's going to wait until the William Barr, the new Attorney General that's been nominated by the president, is confirmed, leaving the Justice Department in the hands of somebody who's been confirmed by the Senate if things go to plan.
Jack, thank you so much. Busy, as always, for you in Washington. I'm sure we'll talk more. We're going to head over to London now, where I'm always excited to talk to my friend James Longman. James, how's it going?
I'm good.
Although we have to talk about something kind of scary. I was watching you earlier today, and I was kind of shocked by the stories that are coming out of Australia right now. So scary packages showing up at consulates. How concerned are we?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to know how concerned we should be, Maggie, because this could be anything from an attempted terrorist attack to just kind of a prank or kind of anything in between. We just don't know at this point. What we do know is that a whole series of packages were sent to 13 consulates and embassies in Australia. They were sent to the capital, Canberra, also big city, Melbourne. This included the US consulate in Melbourne as well. And what they were sent basically were these envelopes, and inside the envelopes we've been described as a little kind of plastic sandwich bag, and inside that what's been described as a thread-like substance. It's not clear what this is. There was a local report in Australia that said that possibly asbestos had been written on some of these envelopes. So, as you can imagine, this caused panic. These buildings were evacuated. Authorities were called. The federal police are investigating. And those guys with hazmat suits that you see when there's a possible biohazard, well, they are on the scene investigating. It's not just the US consulate. Like I said, a number of other countries have been affected. The British mission there, the Koreans, the Germans, the Italians, the Russians. So some of the world's most powerful nations. We don't know what was sent. We don't know who sent it. We do know a few days ago that the consulate of Argentina was sent something in Sydney, a little white powdery substance. That was later discovered to be not dangerous. So it's hoped that this will be the same this time round. So it certainly is a very strange situation. We'll let you know more when we know more.
Well, thanks, James. Sounds like just a lot of questions still, so I'm sure we'll talk again. Have you guys seen these protests that are starting in New Jersey, started yesterday? It's about a man who went into police headquarters asking for help, and by the time he got to the hospital, he had already died. People are now demanding to know how this happened. Eva Pilgrim's there, and Eva, what do we know so far about what happened?
Maggie, hundreds of people marching here to City Hall overnight, demanding justice after the death of a man in police care. The big question now is what exactly happened to that man after he walked into a police station asking for help. Now, this is what we know at this point. We know 27-year-old Jameek Lowry staggered into a Paterson, New Jersey police station. He was on Facebook Live, and he asked officers there to help him. Now, police called an ambulance for Lowry, who was thought to be on ecstasy, but he died at some point in their care. Now, the prosecutor's office said in a statement, police used physical force and compliance holds to secure Lowry in the ambulance, but hospital records indicate no acute trauma. Now, the police director saying that they will do the autopsy and they are trying to get answers for this community that came here marching to City Hall last night. His family, as you can imagine, absolutely heartbroken, but authorities hope that this autopsy will give them some answers as to what happened to him in those moments after the Facebook Live ended. We, of course, will continue to follow this story. Maggie?
Eva, thank you. Now we have another story we've been following. This one's kind of wild. I'm not sure how much you know about it yet, but there have now been 2 deaths of men that happened in the same house, and that house is owned by someone who is a wealthy donor to many Democratic campaigns. Police are now investigating both of these deaths. Will Carr is there for us, and Will, it sort of sounds like a bizarre case, and people are now demanding to know how and if these cases are related, right?
Good morning, Maggie. There have been protests here in the streets of West Hollywood outside of the apartment complex of prominent Democratic donor Ed Buck. He's donated more than $100,000 to a number of Democrats, including Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, over the years. On Monday, authorities found the body of a black man in his 50s inside of Buck's apartment. It's the second time a body has been found inside that apartment in less than 2 years. Back in 2017, authorities say that another black man was found dead inside that apartment. He evidently died from an overdose from meth. That sparked protests at the time. Then after authorities found that body on Monday, more protesters showed up onto this sidewalk. They're demanding justice. They're alleging that Buck is preying on black men in this area. But Buck's attorney says that is flatly not true. He says his client had nothing to do with the deaths of these men. Authorities, though, admit that it is suspicious to have two men die inside the same apartment in such a short amount of time. So they're saying they're looking into this death on Monday and also taking a second look at that 2017 case. Maggie.
Will, those allegations are just disturbing, but we'll have to see what the investigation sort of yields in terms of any answers. Let's head back to CES now. We were here yesterday as well, and I just love any chance to check out gadgets. Romina, you're there for us. You've been there all week, and today I understand you're showing us something that I love because I break my phone all the time, and so I'm wondering if this will help me not break my phone anymore because you have foldable phones, right?
We do. We're here at the Royal booth at CES, where we have on display the world's first foldable phone. I'm here with William Strand, who's gonna demo it for us a bit.
Thank
so
you.
William, take it away.
All right. What we have here is the FlexPi foldable phone from Royal, and it does look like a tablet. When in the world have you been ever able to do that with a tablet? And then
Make your call.
make a call.
Put it in
Hi,
your
Mom.
pocket.
I'm on TV. And just put it in your pocket and go away.
Very handy. We're seeing, Samsung announced a flexible phone recently as well. What is Royal doing to kind of stay ahead of that?
Well, Royal does only flexible technology.
Okay.
That's how we started, and that is all we do. Our factory is dedicated to flexible display and flexible sensor technology, and that is all we're going to do.
So this is all you guys do. And are there any technical issues you guys are still working out with the flexible phone?
Well, when you have a new technology like this that's never been done before, everything is new. I mean, how do the electronics do that bend? How does the hinge work? And so we're developing all of that as well.
Yeah. And can I ask, why are foldable displays so important in our future?
All right, foldable technology and flexible technology allows us to take large devices and make them small. So the displays, what you're seeing here is we're taking a tablet-sized display and we're making it more mobile. Electronics technology has done a wonderful job of miniaturizing stuff so we can go be mobile and go places. Royal flexible display technology is giving us back the size that we used to have, but we can retain that mobility.
Uh-oh, and you have another little gadget there.
I would like to show you, the way we do this is we can either fold the displays, or else we can
oh wow, so they have a full
roll it
keyboard
up.
there.
This is a complete Bluetooth keyboard.
Maggie's loving this. Yeah, you can just take that with you in your pocket or your purse.
That's so cool.
And we have some wearables as well, right?
Absolutely.
Maggie, you're gonna love this.
Now this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's not just phones and keyboards. There are purses, there are shirts.
Oh my God,
there is a hat.
A t-shirt. There's a hat.
Which William is gonna wear.
Wonderful. Don't I look dapper?
So what can we do with these foldable wearables?
All right. So what you're seing here is another application for flexible display technology. Yeah. And although it looks really cute, okay, I'm walking into a party, I'm the life of the party. But what this really is the start of a totally new category in electronics. And that's the fusion of clothing and displays. And so right now, okay, this is just a start.
Your purse can match
purses.
your outfit.
We're putting it on hats, and we're not to the point where we can crumple it up and throw it in the laundry hamper, but this is the start of something new. And 10 years from now, when you're putting on your totally interactive jacket with displays and such, you're going to be looking back at this point and saying, wow, we were there when it started. And this is the start. It's a fun little party thing, but those of us in the industry, we recognize it's the catalyst for something completely new.
And the hat just looks really cool.
Well, of course, but yeah, I make it look cool.
Yeah, you guys look
Maggie,
good.
so which of these should I bring back for you?
I think. Oh, can I have the hat? Actually, I feel like that's what I would rock the best. The hat look.
Maggie wants the hat. Yeah, I know, right?
Romina, I love these. This is so cool. Well, here's what I want, though. I want us in the future. I think we're gonna get little jackets that we can just stream the debrief on nonstop, so we can like walk around promoting the show. No big deal. We would look so good.
On the back of the jacket. We need like leather jackets with the debrief.
Yeah, right? We'll be cool kids. We'll be cool tech kids. All right, thank you both so much. Romina, as always, I love your updates from CES. I really hope she's gonna bring me back the hat. Do you think she will? I think she will. I'm really excited about it. All right, guys, make sure to stick around. ABC News Live. We'll have more shows throughout the day and more updates, and the debrief again tomorrow as well. So fun to hang out with you. This is Maggie Rulli, and we'll talk later.